Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're delving into one of the most bizarre and chilling architectural mysteries I've ever come across. It's a story that sounds like something straight out of a gothic novel, but it's very, very real. We're talking about the strange case of the widow in the wall. Our story takes us back to the late 19th century, to a bustling city, but inside a quiet, unassuming house owned by a woman named Mrs. Adelaide Worthington. By all accounts, Adelaide was a recluse. After her husband, a wealthy merchant, passed away under mysterious circumstances, she withdrew from society almost completely. Neighbors rarely saw her. The curtains of her grand house were always drawn, and the property slowly began to fall into a state of disrepair. For years, the Worthington house was the subject of local gossip. People whispered about Adelaide's immense grief, her supposed eccentricity, and the vast fortune she was rumored to be hoarding. Children would dare each other to run up and touch the front door, and local legends began to form around the silent, brooding mansion and the widow Worthington. Then one day, Adelaide simply vanished. It wasn't a sudden disappearance that anyone noticed right away. Given her reclusive nature, it took weeks, maybe even months, before people truly realized she was gone. The mail piled up. The garden became a jungle, and a thick layer of dust coated the windows. Eventually, concerned relatives who hadn't heard from her in ages contacted the authorities. When police forced their way into the house, they found a scene frozen in time. Everything was covered in dust, but it was otherwise orderly. It was as if the owner had just stepped out for a moment and never returned. They searched the entire house, from the dusty attic to the damp cellar. They checked the grounds, the old well, and interviewed the few neighbors who had any interaction with her. But there was no sign of Adelaide Worthington, no note, no sign of a struggle, nothing. She had simply disappeared into thin air. The house was eventually sold, passing through several hands over the next few decades. Each new owner reported a strange feeling in the house, an unshakable sense of being watched, cold spots in the middle of summer, and faint, unexplainable noises at night. Most didn't stay long, selling the property at a loss just to get away from the unnerving atmosphere. The legend of the haunted Worthington house only grew stronger. Now let's fast forward nearly 50 years to the mid-20th century. The house is now owned by a young family, the Hendersons, who bought it for a bargain, undeterred by the local ghost stories. They decided to undertake a massive renovation to modernize the old building. And this is where our story takes its most shocking turn. One of the main projects was to knock down a particularly thick, non-load-bearing wall on the second floor that separated the master bedroom from a small, unused storage closet. The Hendersons thought it would create a much larger, more open master suite. As the construction crew began their demolition, their sledgehammers hit something that wasn't plaster or wood. It was a hollow space, an unexpected void within the wall itself. Puzzled, the workers carefully chipped away at the plaster, revealing a small, dark, and cramped chamber hidden between the walls. It was barely large enough for a person to stand in, and inside this secret chamber they found the answer to the decades-old mystery. There, sealed within the wall, was a human skeleton. It was sitting upright on a small, crude stool, as if placed there deliberately. The remains were frail and dressed in the tattered remnants of a fine, late 19th century dress. In its lap was a small, leather-bound journal. The authorities were called immediately, and through dental records and the items found with the body, the skeleton was identified. It was, without a doubt, the long-lost Adelaide Worthington. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community. The widow in the wall was no longer just a spooky legend. It was a grim reality. But the biggest question remained: how did she get in there? Was she the victim of a horrifying crime, sealed alive in her own home? Or was there something even stranger at play? The journal found in her lap provided the haunting answers. The entries, written in a spidery, frantic hand, painted a picture not of a victim, but of a woman consumed by paranoia and a desperate, misguided plan. After her husband's death, Adelaide became convinced that shadowy figures, unnamed enemies, were coming to steal her fortune and her life. Her paranoia grew to the point where she believed nowhere in the house was safe. So she devised what she saw as the perfect hiding place. She secretly commissioned the construction of a small hidden room within the wall of her own bedroom. The journal detailed her plans meticulously. The chamber was designed with a complex mechanism on the inside that would seal the door, making it completely invisible from the outside. It was meant to be her impenetrable fortress. The final entries are the most tragic and chilling. She wrote about her plan to enter the chamber for a trial run, to test its security for a single night. She described stocking the tiny space with a bit of water, a candle, and her journal. The last entry is brief and filled with terrifying realization. It reads, "The mechanism. It is broken. The latch will not yield from the inside. Oh, what have I done?" Adelaide Worthington had not been murdered. In a tragic twist of fate, she had become a prisoner of her own paranoia. The very fortress she built to protect herself had become her tomb. She had sealed herself in, and the one-way mechanism she had so cleverly designed had failed, trapping her forever within the walls of her own home. She had, quite literally, become the ghost in her own machine. The story of the widow in the wall serves as a profoundly sad reminder of how fear and isolation can lead us down the darkest of paths. Adelaide's desperate attempt to secure her life and fortune ultimately cost her both in the most horrifying way imaginable. She didn't just disappear, she was erased, brick, by her own hand. The house still stands today, a private residence, but the story of what was found within its walls lingers, a permanent part of the town's history. It's a tale that blurs the line between a ghost story and a true crime tragedy, leaving us to wonder about the secrets that old houses keep and the silent stories hidden just behind the plaster. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into this dark and fascinating piece of history. What do you think of this incredible story? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the strange and mysterious. We'll see you in the next one.